Good evening. This meeting is called to order. At this time, we'll have the moment of prayer. Commissioner Deaton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we extend our prayers to the families of our sailors and soldiers who endure the strains of separation and uncertainty. Bless them with resilience, patience, and the strength to keep their homes intact in the absence of their loved ones. May they find comfort in the knowledge that their sacrifices as their loved ones stand guard are an integral part of our nation's defense. With deep gratitude and empathy from a loving county and country, we offer our prayers. May I add, may Tim Quinn and Ray Domus rest in peace. Amen.
Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Fiani,
Here.
Commissioner Dreck,
Here.
Commissioner Helserman,
Here.
Commissioner Domas,
Here.
Commissioner Sample,
Here.
Commissioner Nakagiri,
Here.
Commissioner Deaton,
Here.
Commissioner Panovich,
Here.
Commissioner Gross.
Here.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. This evening, Commissioner Nakagiri has raised to me that he believed that the agenda was not drafted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order and the board rules. I shared a significantly different interpretation, and we were at an impasse. However, I do believe that this can be resolved with a very simple formality. So if you bear with us, please, Madam Clerk, for this evening's draft agenda of record, please have item 9.3 from the March 9th, 2026 FAM Committee agenda as item 13I, and please have item 9.2 from the March 9th, 2026 FAM Committee agenda as item 13K.
So noted.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved, Deaton. Support, Domus.
Is there a motion to amend the agenda as follows? Remove as item 13I, item 9.3 from the March 9th, 2026 FAM Committee agenda. Add as item 13I, resolution unanimously approved by the Veterans Services Committee titled Resolution Authorizing Millage Election for the Renewal of the County Veterans Services Program Millage Proposal and certifying ballot language authored by Director Ramon Baca, and remove item 13K.
So move, Sample. Support, Domus.
Before we enter into discussion, about this amendment, I just want to make very clear that this amendment would include on this evening's agenda the resolution that was unanimously approved by the Veterans Services Committee and authored by Director Ramon Baca that would have an election date of August and a millage rate renewal of 0.1117. Any discussion among the commissioners? Commissioner Nakagiri.
Yeah, thank you for adjusting the starting agenda. I believe it's the right thing to do based on my reading of the rules and feedback we have from our parliamentarian. I've said before, I will follow the will of the majority of the board. That's how we all should operate. But we should also follow our rules. The new resolution that was motioned and seconded to be put on the agenda, the one dealing with the veterans millage, has not gone through committee, and I just want to remind my colleagues that per our rules, to bypass committee and go directly to the board requires 6 votes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Helserman.
I'd like to address this. First of all, to give you a little history, the first time I was in this room was in 2008. I was running to be a commissioner, and I didn't become a commissioner for 8 more years after that. But at that meeting, Bill Rogers was the chair. He was very cordial, but during that meeting, someone made a motion, and all of a sudden, there was, in my mind, in my recollection, a roar from one of the members, and I believe it was, oh, the name's not coming to me right now, but he said, this motion cannot come forward because it hasn't come through my committee. That was the end of that discussion. And that was my first lesson of how the commission works. And so tonight, I think when we have a disagreement, we need to affirm the rules that we have, and we need to follow them. And so I do not favor substituting, because I think that whatever that this board can change it to meet the requirements of Director Baca without doing a special thing. So that's where I am. I just think we need to follow the rules.
Thank you, Commissioner Helserman. Commissioner Drick?
Is the extra resolution proposed on the ballot or on the agenda a resolution that would have a 6 or 8 year life? That was one of the things that was in the first one, might have been in the second one. Which is the proposal tonight?
6 years.
6. Thank you.
6 years for the one proposed by Veterans Committee.
That's correct.
So it would start, if we've passed it this time, it would start
28.
in 27 and go 6 years.
2028. So we start in 2028 and go 6 years. And that was,
Okay, instead of 8 years, the one that we approved had 8 years.
that's correct.
Okay.
That was per the recommendation of the Veteran Services Committee. Commissioner Nakagiri?
Thank you. Again, I will be voting against the substitution for the reason that the initial one passed through committee and can be amended in any way the full board here so chooses. You could make any amendment. You could change the election date. You could change the millage. I am thankful that the substitution has a millage rate of 0.1117, which complies with Headley, and which is what I had argued vigorously for initially, and come to find out that with the resolution having 0.1117, we can call the ballot proposal a renewal as opposed to a new millage. And as you'll see in my presentation in commissioner reports, I have done a fair amount of research on this issue, found some interesting statistics from Gongware up in Lansing, and a renewal millage has a significantly higher chance of passing than a new millage. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the amendment, we'll take a roll call. Madam Clerk, please. All those in favor of the amendment, well, I'll leave it up to you. So we'll take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sample,
Yes.
Commissioner Nakagiri,
No.
Commissioner Drick,
Yes.
Commissioner Deaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Panovich,
Yes.
Commissioner Fiani,
Yes.
Commissioner Gross,
Yes.
Commissioner Helserman,
No?
and Commissioner Domas.
Yes.
Motion to amend carries.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion for K?
No, we don't. At this time, we'll take a roll call vote, please, for the approval of the amended agenda.
Okay, you're only changing that. You're not. So the 9 point, the other one will be on the agenda then.
No, based upon the amended, or I'm sorry, based upon the motion to amend, the 9.2 item will not be on this evening's agenda.
I didn't understand that in the motion. I thought you only did one. So we're doing both at the same time then?
So,
Okay, that was not my understanding. That's fine. So,
at this time, a yes vote would provide us with the agenda having only the resolution recommended by the Veterans Services Committee, authored by Director Baca,
As 13I, correct?
as 13I, and
Okay.
13K has been removed.
Removed. Okay, Commissioner Deaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Panovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Fiani.
Yes.
Commissioner Gross,
Yes.
Commissioner Helserman,
yes.
Commissioner Domas.
Yes.
Commissioner Sample,
Yes.
Commissioner Nakagiri.
Yes.
And Commissioner Drick.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. At this time, I am honored to deliver the employee recognition this evening. So I will call up Mr. Connor Crompton and Director Johnson from the airport.
Oh, that's why you're here. Good.
I'll meet you over here. You're ready. Good evening. Congratulations. Good to see you again. Good to see you. So this evening, we have the certificate of recognition, and it's probably presented to Mr. Connor Crompton here, Crompton here, from the Livingston County Airport. Mr. Crompton here receives this award in appreciation and recognition of his outstanding service. This employee recognition award is awarded to Mr. Crompton here. Mr. Crompton has had a tenure with the Livingston County Airport for just under a year now. And in this short time, he not only is being awarded this employee recognition, but he actually was awarded the honorable mention as well previously. His responsibilities include performing inspections and maintenance on the facilities, equipment and runways, fuel aircraft, provide radio communications, respond to aircraft emergencies, and assist customers with any needs that may arise. Connor was nominated by an airport customer that had landed after experiencing an issue on their aircraft and took the time to actually mail in a nomination card after his encounter with Connor here. I quote, "Absolutely amazing job to make sure we got all the help we needed after landing with an aircraft mechanical issue. He bent over backwards to provide help with everything. Excellent young man." This nomination jumped out at the Employee Recognition Committee. First were the short but glowing words about Connor's performance. But then, as the fact that this airport customer, even after suffering such a traumatic and stressful aircraft mechanical issue, took the time and effort afterwards to mail in this nomination to make sure that Connor's great work was recognized and did not go unnoticed. That is exactly what the Employee Recognition Program is all about. Connor went above and beyond to not only meet but exceed expectations with this customer. When our team members demonstrate this extraordinary level of service, it's something to take notice of, appreciate, and celebrate. In this case, Connor's work makes him an exceptional and exemplary employee recognition. Congratulations, Connor, on this award. Thank you very much.
And I had a few words to say, but Nick took care of most of them. So he's set a very high bar for himself, but we're in a new quarter. Congratulations. Nope, we're thrilled to have Connor. He's doing good work and he's been here since May. So he's still pretty new to the job. Yeah.
If you'd like, we can have a picture with all the.
That'd be great, yeah.
Yes.
So you can feel free to step on back. Yes, you can just circle around to the center.
You look too tall for the ceiling here.
Everybody looking?
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Got an office too.
If anybody wishes to make their way out at this time, they're certainly more than welcome to, now that the employee recognition has concluded. The next item on this evening's agenda is the FOIA appeal. We have a FOIA appeal from Mr. Monroe. All the commissioners should have received the background information regarding this appeal. I invite our director up to the table here, and do we have Mr. Monroe on Zoom?
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
I can, yes. Good evening. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm great.
This evening, as we conduct this FOIA appeal, what we'll do is you will have 10 minutes to present your side and what you believe or your reason behind the appeal. Then our director here will have 10 minutes. And then you will have 5 more minutes to share any closing remarks. And then the board will deliberate.
Sure. Sounds great. Thank you.
You may begin.
Wonderful. Alrighty. Good evening. My name is Alexander Monroe. Thank you for taking the time to hear from me today. I'm a licensed real estate broker based out of Washtenaw County, and I work with buyers and sellers throughout Southeast Michigan, including Livingston County. And I'm here this evening because I filed a public request, a records request for the county's assessment roll, which is a list of parcel data maintained by the county treasurer. And I was redirected to a fee schedule I believe exceeds what should be charged for that request. So there's a couple of questions that the director brought up here. The first question was whether or not the Freedom of Information Act applies to the property tax roll records. When I'm reading into this, I look at it in terms of sequence. We have the property tax records being something that was created during the late 1800s. Initially, this is something that the tax authorities have been gathering for a long time. In 1976, the Freedom of Information Act was passed. That created the statutory right for the public to get disclosure of public docs. And then later on, we have 1996, we have the Enhanced Access to Public Records Act, which is what I believe the director is referencing as far as what the county has established for a charge for these records. And then a couple years later, that same act was amended in 1998. So really, I was just sort of giving a little bit of the historic context there, just to speak to that first question of whether or not this should have been accepted and fulfilled and treated as a Freedom of Information Act request, was just that when I lay these acts out in sequence, I'm asking for a record which I believe is older than what the Enhanced Access Act was referencing, which in the Enhanced Access Act, they're talking about geographical information system data like latitude, longitude, points, maps, boundaries, that kind of data. And that wasn't actually originally what I was requesting. So that's the first question is this exempt from FOIA or is it not? Or is it part of FOIA? And I'm still of the opinion that it's part of FOIA, although I understand the director's point in the sense that now that they're offering geographical information, it seems like the tax records that I'm asking for have been bundled inside of the same system with that geographical information, or at least that's my sense of it being that I'm being told, no, FOIA doesn't apply. Here's the new fee schedule. So that's the first question of whether this belongs in the FOIA track or the EPRA track. The next question is, let's say that I'm wrong. I'm not an attorney, by the way. I'm a layman. I'm a real estate guy reading through these acts. EPRA, the Enhanced Access to Public Records Acts, also stipulates, as far as fees, it contains some language mentioning that the fees should be reasonable and they should be tied to the actual operating expenses of the system they're coming out of. So even if this wasn't a FOIA request, which I think it is, but let's say it's not, this is an EPRA request. I still think that the quoted amount of $3,400, $5, something like that, $3,400, it just seems to exceed what even EPRA provides for. So I think that concludes my thing, and I know you guys have more business behind me. So with that, I'll give the director his chance to answer.
Thank you. Director, you have 10 minutes to share your side.
Yes, thank you, commissioners. So the request here was for a countywide assessment roll. And he'd also mentioned that it may be coming from the treasurer's office, so there may be some confusion on what he is actually looking for. We in the equalization department do not keep a countywide assessment roll. We obtain assessment rolls from each local unit. Now, the information on those assessment rolls, we do have publicly available online. And we had let him know this when he made the request, that on our website, we provided the link. All of this information is freely accessible to the public. With that said, we also did further offer him a copy of each of these assessment rolls provided from each of the local units, which he turned down. He requested a specific CSV file with specific fields of information for each parcel. We do receive requests like this from entities like Zillow. So this is not something that's new. It's not a new request. We've been fulfilling these requests for a very long time. And it falls under the Enhanced Access to Public Records, which you guys have set in place. So I really don't have too much to add to that. That's essentially, all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Monroe,
Mhm.
if you would like, you have 5 minutes for any closing remarks.
Sure. To what the director was saying, correct, we can look up individual property records online for free. That's correct. The reason I'm seeking the data in the format that I believe it exists in a system like BSNA is that structured data will allow us to search through and study the actual information. So, for instance, let's say I get a call from a buyer, someone kind of like Connor working at the airport. Someone of a modest means who's looking to go purchase a house in Livingston County. One of the questions they might ask would be, beyond the sales price I'm paying for the house, how much is this going to cost me over the long term to own this? And one of the key components in that answer is in this assessment roll. So yes, we can look things up I can look up 123 Main Street and see what the taxes are, but I cannot search for properties that are just for instance, searching in ascending order of properties that are the lowest taxable value and up, or state equalized value and up. So that's the reason why I'm asking for the data in a database format. And my understanding of the Freedom of Information Act is that the public would be entitled to that data in the format that the local government has it, in the format in which it originally exists. So I'm asking for that same thing. And I would also ask the county, just as far as we're talking about cost, is the cost situation for the county such that pressing export will cost the county $3,400? Because I'm not trying to, push an undue cost burden onto to the Livingston County taxpayers. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'd be a little bit surprised to hear if the cost actually did work that way, but I'm curious if the director would be able to answer.
Before we inquire that with the director, do you yield the rest of your time, or do you have other questions or anything else you'd wish to share?
I think that concludes it. The only last thing I might point out would just be that um, I think that these statutes tended to be written in a pro-disclosure type of language, and also just that the public having easy access and lower cost access to this information. I think that there's the potential downstream consequences if they can't get access to the information. So, if a group of brokers in an MLS decided we're going to create Zillow, but for you to search our homes, you're going to pay by the line to see, various homes for sale. We would we would certainly have a conversation about how, well, for instance, the Board of Commissioners might not like that, or some other entity, but just generally that I just think that the public information as far as what people are paying, how much they should be expected to pay, it just should, I think it should be out there. That's all.
Thank you. Are there any questions that the commissioners have for either Mr. Monroe or our director here?
I have a question.
Commissioner Hauserman.
This is for Mr. Monroe. The director said that this information is available at each local township. Why do you not take that route?
Great question. My understanding is it would be, and I could kick off freedom of information requests with Fenton, Heartland, Howell, and go through them one by one. But why would I if one local government has all of them? And I did hear the director mention that he's used to dealing with Zillow. I just want to mention on the side, Livingston is in the minority of the counties nearby. Monroe charges $75 for the master tax roll. Wayne County posts it online in a free downloadable zip as a result of a Freedom of Information Act request. Lenawee approved my Freedom of Information Act request and provided all the documentation without any fees. So again, yes, I can look up one property, but that what I asked for was the full tax roll, and that is not available for free online.
Okay, a question for, do we know why it's not available online in Livingston County? Do we know?
The specific CSV export, why it's not available online? Essentially because, we had set this forth as part of our enhanced access to public records policy. That's really all I have to say for it, is the Board of Commissioners approved the fee schedule for this information request. FOIA is for the inspection and copying of existing records, which again, we had offered him the existing records and it's still there for free online. But if you want us to compile the records or do custom exports for you, the Board of Commissioners has previously set forth the fee schedule for that.
Okay.
It is the going rate on many of the municipalities that we've checked with. I noticed he didn't mention Washtenaw. We've looked at a lot of the surrounding counties. We charge 4 cents a parcel, and that's about the going rate for a lot of the nearby counties.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions, Commissioner Nakagiri?
Are these records being requested under FOIA or something else?
They are generally requested under the enhanced access to public records policy. When Zillow reaches out, they've been through the process before. As far as I know, Mr. Monroe here is the first one to request it through FOIA.
Because my understanding of FOIA is that, the governing body is not required to create documents.
Correct.
I mean, if we have the document, we need to turn it over, but to pull and compile and collate and do all this stuff, there's no requirement in FOIA to do that. Is my understanding correct?
That is my understanding as well.
Any other
If I
questions?
may, the way that Wayne County uploaded this Freedom of Information Act was it's a zipped file containing about 18 comma separated Excel sheets, basically, one from each of their municipalities. Wayne County did not have to combine or compile documents. This is comparable to can you obtain 17 emails and put them into a FOIA request for me? So again, I'll maintain that the majority of them have a reasonable cost, much lower than Washtenaw, although I will concede Washtenaw is charging $7,500. That's something we need to review together as well. But the remainder of the counties of the 8 in Southeast that I looked at were all essentially free or a nominal cost about $70, $80.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments among the commissioners? Commissioner Gross?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for Mr. Monroe. Am I correct in that earlier, when you were speaking, you acknowledged that the information from the various townships is available to you free? It's just not in the format that you would like to have. Is that correct?
It's not as complete as my request is for all of the data, so I can't get, no, that's not available for me through Howl that I'm aware of. I could look up one individually and then I could create my own spreadsheet if that's what you were asking.
No, I'm just, I thought you said that you acknowledged that the information is available from the various jurisdictions for free.
Well, I believe it would be because those various jurisdictions are establishing the taxable values and then handing it up to Livingston County. So yeah, and I may have misspoke. I assume that information is out there, but in the sense that the Freedom of Information Act entitles the public to access any public record, I don't see that I should be forced to file 15 when I could file 1. Get what I mean?
Thank you, Mr. Monroe. I hear what you're saying, and my only concern with that is that you're expecting that Livingston County should fall in step with all the other counties, and we're not required to do that in this situation. So
I agree with that.
Yeah, the information is available to you. It's just not the total package that you're desirous of having, and we do not have that available in the format that you would like. Thank you.
I'll share with the commissioners and Mr. Monroe, we certainly appreciate your time this evening. And from what we've heard from both sides, it sounds like the issue at hand is actually a matter that's outside the actual jurisdiction of the FOIA appeal. And we, again, certainly appreciate the arguments by both sides. At this time, is there a motion to deny the FOIA appeal?
So moved. Helserman. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Helserman, seconded by Commissioner Sample. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries 9-0. Thank you for your time this evening, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to receive and place on file correspondence 8A?
So moved, Nakagiri.
Support Deaton.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 9-0. At this time, we have the first call of the public. Each individual will have 3 minutes to address the board. If you have not already, we ask if you could provide Clerk Hundley with a card that simply has your name and municipality. And we will begin.
Bruce Hundley, Genoa Township, followed by Ramon Baca.
And we have Air Force people here too, Commissioner Domas. Tonight you have a resolution from Veteran Services before you that has stirred up a little controversy regarding our millage since the last FAM meeting. Just to give you a little history, the millage to support the county veterans was originally passed in 2016. Hansel Keene originally spearheaded the idea, recruited myself and a few others, including Don Parker, who was a commissioner at the time, to study and advance the idea. We put together a big study and the commissioners at that time overwhelmingly supported the millage. I supported it because I had two personal experiences with Livingston County Veteran Services prior to that time, which was a waste of my time, and I ended up traveling to Detroit to the disabled American veterans to get some help, which really wasn't much better. Eventually, after the millage passed, a new committee came to the board and we started making improvements. Over the years, we hired and trained new motivated service officers. We expanded our services. We acquired dependable vehicles to transport our veterans to the medical appointments, started an outreach program, and diligently worked on improving our offices from the cave that we were required to use at the East Complex. And now we've moved over to the Secretary of State's office. None of this came easy. It didn't happen overnight, and there were plenty of bumps on the road. Today, we have a beautiful, safe, comfortable facility for the veterans. We have employees that are fairly compensated and are very dedicated to helping veterans, their spouses, and families. The controversy regarding the budget and the millage has been resolved due to the personal help and transparency of Commissioner Fiani and Commissioner Sample. I would like to thank them personally for taking the time and interest to sit down with the committee and work this out. I only have 3 minutes, so we'll just end it right there. Thank you.
Ramon Baca, Marion Township, followed by Melissa Hinckley.
Approximately 6% of our nation's population is served in the United States Armed Forces. Today, only about 1% are actively serving. It is a small percentage, yet they carry an extraordinary burden. They put their lives on the line and sacrifice greatly out of love for their country and their families. And let's not forget, those families sacrifice alongside them. This is the very definition of selflessness. Many who serve become exceptional leaders because they understand that leadership is not about self. It is about service. True leaders put others first, develop their teams, accomplish the mission, and uphold the highest ethical standards. They lead with character, confidence, and emotional intelligence, and they act even when it is difficult or uncomfortable. That is servant leadership. When their service ends, our obligation to them does not. We owe our veterans more than words. We owe them a system that works from reintegration into civilian life to ongoing support whenever it is needed. Veteran Services leadership, not the commissioners, develops the budget and identifies what is needed to effectively serve those who have served. When efficiencies are achieved and savings occur, that reflects the dedicated work of the professionals carrying out these services, rather than the result of public commentary or political positioning. We also have a duty to plan ahead for Vietnam veterans who still need care, for those who serve in Iraq and Afghanistan, and for the next generation currently being called into harm's way across the globe. That means maintaining the highest level of levy possible so we are prepared when demand increases. And if the day comes when an increase is necessary, we should call it what it is, a tangible way to say thank you. And to the small percentage who are willing to sacrifice everything. This is about leadership, integrity, honesty, and accountability. No one person should hold unilateral control over decisions that affect our veterans. We don't yield to pressure, and we won't allow ourselves to be dismissed. Having the authority to act doesn't make the action right, especially when warned against it. Too often, that kind of choice becomes an abuse of power. My father, an Army veteran, taught me at a young age not to tolerate bullying. And after 25 years in the Army, that lesson was reinforced each and every day. I've seen firsthand what it means to stand up against injustice around the world. And like every veteran here today, I carry those values with me. We will not be silenced, and we will always stand for what is right. But let's also be clear, progress does not require division. Through honest dialogue and mutual respect, we can find solutions that truly honor our veterans and strengthen our communities. At the end of the day, supporting those who put their lives on the line is not a burden, a so-called tax increase, a technicality or play on words. It is our duty, and it is simply the right thing to do, to serve those who once served us. I want to sincerely thank the commissioners who strongly advocated for our veterans during the recent FAM meeting. Your support did not go unnoticed. I also appreciate those who reached out afterward to help repair things and move forward constructively. I'm glad we reached consensus on this issue. It's unfortunate that getting here required us to be at odds with one of your own. because our veterans deserve a unified commitment. I look forward to working together on solutions that reflect that shared responsibility.
Thank you.
Melissa Hinckley from Shiawassee, followed by Daniel O'Sullivan.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Melissa Hinckley, and I serve as a veteran service officer for Livingston County. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. In my role, I work directly with veterans of Livingston County, helping them navigate often overwhelming VA systems to access the benefits that they've earned, from disability compensation and healthcare to education programs and crisis resources. These benefits directly impact their stability, well-being, and quality of life. My work also extends to supporting surviving spouses and families, particularly through dependents and indemnity compensation claims and other VA survivor benefits. Many widows come to us in a time of grief, unsure where to turn, what they may be eligible for. When someone is grieving, navigating the VA system alone can feel impossible. My goal and part of my job is to ease that burden and ensure families receive the support their loved one's service entitles them to. There's also an important support program grounded in Michigan Public Act 235 of 1911, which mandates that counties provide up to $300 toward the burial expenses of eligible, honorably discharged veterans, their spouses, and/or surviving spouses. Here in Livingston County, our veteran millage allows us to extend that assistance by offering an additional $700 currently, bringing the total amount to $1,000 for qualifying families. This support is deeply meaningful, but I also want to be honest about the reality families face. Today, many widows are spending $10,000 or more on funeral services. In that context, the $1,000 we can provide helps, but it only makes a very small dent in what quickly becomes an overwhelming and often very unexpected expense. I see the stress and hardship it creates, and I only wish that we had the ability to give back even more, to lighten that load in a moment of profound grief. Even so, the assistance we can provide, sometimes combined with survivor benefits I help them secure through the VA, truly makes a difference. It shows these families that Livingston County stands beside them, recognizes their sacrifice, and honors their loved one's service. Whether I'm helping a veteran gain long overdue benefits or supporting a widow through funeral assistance and survivor claims, this work changes lives. It keeps critical resources here in our community and ensures that no veteran or surviving spouse faces these challenges alone. It's an honor to serve our veterans and their families, and I remain committed to ensuring they receive the care, advocacy, and respect that they deserve. Thank you for your time and your continued support of our veteran community.
Daniel O'Sullivan, Howell, Michigan, followed by David Harvey.
Hi, my name's Dan O'Sullivan. Thank you guys for your time this evening. I'm a veteran that was helped by the Livingston County Veterans Association. I don't work there or anything. They helped me and my family. And it was immeasurable, the help that they gave us. And I would welcome any one of you that during the Christmas holiday to see what these people do. It's remarkable what they've done for veterans in this county that you guys represent. They handed out meals, presents to these people. Then if you've seen the faces of some of these people, you would understand fully. Just one time, check that out if you ever get the chance. But yeah, they've helped me greatly. Kelly, who was my representative, she was outstanding. And that's all I got to say. You guys really need to see what these guys do. It's, like I said, you can't put a price tag to it. You cannot.
David Harvey, Osceola Township, followed by Kevin Monlock.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Dave Harvey, Osceola Township. I'm here representing American Legion Post 141 in Howell. And I understand there's a compromise reached, which you'll be discussing later on in this agenda in regards to the millage. My purpose today is to talk about the necessity for the millage. I could also probably argue Headley. I spent my entire professional career mostly in local and state government. I have a different interpretation, but that's for a different argument for a different day. You're constrained by budget cycles, you're constrained by political cycles, you're constrained by the advice you get from your county attorneys. However, American Legion Post 141 and all the other veterans organizations in this room, we don't think in those terms. We think in decades. We know today that there are service members serving in combat zones. We won't see those service members applying for benefits for injuries or illnesses they have acquired possibly 20, 30 years from now. I have a story of a veteran yesterday who I met at Post 141, his wife. He just now, 60 years later after leaving Vietnam, applied for his medical benefits for 5 cancers he has from exposure to Agent Orange, 60 years before he applied. Some of that's from pride, some of it's from just a host of reasons that they don't come and apply for their benefits. It's taken a lot to nurture those veterans to get them to come forward. So we know today from going back to still World War II, where we still have about 45,000 veterans from World War II to career to conflicts, Cold War vets, GWAT vets, Iraqi vets. We're going to continually see those veterans coming forward decades after they have finished their service. There needs to be somebody there, and there is somebody there. And this county has stepped up to make that obligation to our veterans, and not only in supporting all the veterans organizations in this room and Post 141, but also Livingston County Veteran Services. I think it's by no small coincidence that today is the 100th birthday of Post 141. We spent 100 years growing, developing relationships, developing collaborations. Livingston County Veteran Services is one of those we've developed a very symbiotic relationship with, and we make sure that no veteran falls through the cracks between our two organizations. What it takes from you, though, is when you start talking about reductions, regardless of the reason, when you start talking reductions, you start making us very concerned about falling backwards. We're very sensitive to not falling backwards to the Vietnam era, how our Vietnam veterans were treated. We've been trying to fix that over the years and decades, but we can see how things get repeated. History gets repeated. So we're very watchful of those things. So for us, it takes transparency. For us, it takes collaboration. And I ask for both of those from you going forward. Thank you very much.
Kevin Monlock.
Gotta go. Boys, do your job. Put the boot.
Kevin Monlock from Howell, followed by Yvonne Mester. So Yvonne Mester from Fowlerville, followed by David Mester.
Gentlemen. I'm Yvonne Mester, and I am the Community Outreach Coordinator with the Livingston County Veterans Council. First of all, I want to make absolutely clear that we are not satisfied with the decision to walk back the original commitment to levy the full millage amount. Our veterans were promised a rate, the voters approved that rate, and going back on that promise without compelling justification undermines the trust, it undermines transparency, and it undermines the integrity of the board's word. Secondly, the attempt to address the situation with Mr. Sample and Mr. Fiani with Post 141 only after the media public backlash was, in my view, far too late. Leadership is not something exercised after the fallout. Leadership is what you show in the moment when the conduct is happening right in front of you. As chair, Mr. Fiani, you had both the opportunity and the responsibility to rein in Mr. Nagagiri's conduct from the outset. His disregard for our veterans and for our Veterans Services Director, Ramon Baca, and his employees was unacceptable. The behavior should have been addressed immediately. Instead, it was allowed to stand into the public outcry.
This is not the standard of leadership this county deserves, and it's not something the public will forget. So let me close with this. We will be watching. Trust has been broken, and it's not going to be given back easily. David J. Mester from Fowlerville, followed by Sharon Lalio.
Good evening. How you doing? Some of you I know, some of you I don't know. As you can see, we have a situation, and it's a hot one. And I would like to thank some of the commissioners, Mr. Roger Deaton, I believe it's Dave Damas, and Mr. Jay Cross for opposing the original amendment that was presented by Commissioner Nakagiri. I am the commander for the Livingston County Veterans Council. Our group is comprised of the 17 different posts located in Livingston County. We are here to help our veterans and guide them for assistance when they need relief, when they need medical assistance, and to take these people, and we work very closely with the Livingston County Service Office with Ramon Baca and his team of Elizabeth, Kenneth, and Joe. It's disturbing when one person, now picking on Commissioner West, goes on our local radio station, WHMI, and says, we want a tax cut. Doesn't say where it's coming from. He doesn't say he's gonna bypass departments. We want this tax cut. And he takes away from what was presented back in 2016, then the language written by many good people, including Joshua Parrish, who is also the president, and his wife for the Veterans Vet Fest that happens in Fowlerville in August. This issue is a black eye for most of the commissioners because you say tax cut, where's it coming from? All these veterans here are here for one purpose. We're not victims. We're here to help each other. We want to help the council. Back in 2016, the council said, we will help the veterans. And we see a reduction. What will happen 5 years from now? I don't know. I was also told if it got to the point where a Livingston County Service Officer needed the money, they can come to the board and ask for $100,000. I said, how are you going to pay it back? No answer. Why would we want to borrow it when the people of Livingston County approved an amendment from 2016? All for what? $15? Because somebody got on WHMI and says, I'm going to give you a tax cut? At whose expense? Can you do this to another department? Can you take it from a teacher's union? Can you take it from the police department? Can you take it from EMS? Who's next? When Ramon Baca is omitted from these important meetings, thank you. It makes no sense because now you create chaos because of one individual. That's all I got to say about it. Thank you.
Sharon Lalio from Howell Township, followed by Will Williamson.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sharon Lalio, and I do live in Howell Township. I am the granddaughter of a veteran, the daughter of a veteran, the wife of a veteran, and the mother of a deceased veteran. I am also grandmother to 2 children currently serving as an airman and a Marine. And I want there to be no question about my appreciation for and unwavering support of our past and currently serving military. I am here tonight to take a few minutes to express my support for Commissioner Nakagiri and to address any misconceptions that he is not supportive of our veterans. Legislation was passed to grant property tax exemptions for veterans who are 100% disabled. The intent of that legislation was clear. The benefit was meant to follow the surviving spouse and not to be tied to a specific property as long as that spouse remained unmarried. After 8 long and difficult years, our son Tony, who served in the Army, passed away from ALS, a disease that was linked to military service. When his wife, our daughter-in-law Kate, made the decision to move her family from Brighton to Pinckney to leave behind painful memories, she was assured that the property tax exemption would follow her. Imagine the pain and frustration when after 2 years in her new home, she received a letter stating that the exemption did not transfer and that she owed both current and back property taxes. That letter was part of what led her to relocate to South Carolina, a state that passed similar legislation and honored its intent. But family matters deeply, especially after such a loss, and Kate and our grandchildren decided to come home to Michigan. Unfortunately, the law here still remained unclear, with at least one veteran widow forced to go to court over similar issues. When Kate informed us she was moving back, I immediately reached out to Representative Boland and Commissioner Nakagiri for help in clarifying the intent of the legislation and, more importantly, how to correct it so that no other families would have to endure what ours and others had gone through. Both responded immediately and began working toward a solution. Commissioner Nakagiri connected Kate with Ramon Baca. We were told he was deeply committed to helping veterans, and that proved absolutely true. Ramon was a blessing to Kate, to our family, and undoubtedly to many others he has assisted. We are so grateful that we personally thanked him, and later when I thanked Commissioner Nakagiri, he encouraged us to formally recognize Ramon's effort through the Livingston County's Employees Recognition Program. That speaks to the kind of leadership and character we are discussing here. I have known Wes for 16 years. He not only cares about veterans, but he is consistently mindful of the taxpayers. I'm not going to make it frank, so just tell me when to stop. How their money is used and how it's spent, and whether increases are truly necessary. That has never changed throughout his time on the county commission, whether his stance was popular or not. Regarding the current, is that time? Oh, all right.
We do have a second call of the public as well.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
Betsy, put me down.
Okay.
Will Williamson from Osceola Township, followed by Joe Riker.
Evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your time and commitment to our community. I know sometimes it can be a thankless job. I'm an Air Force veteran, 8 years. I was a Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Operation Denied Flight. And I'm here really just to give a huge shout out to Livingston County Veteran Services, to Ramon, and in particular to Kelly Johnson and Joe. After 30 years, I finally got my disability approved. Now, some of that was on me. I was misinformed. I didn't understand the process. Any of your veterans or any of you that ever replied, there's a lot of red tape. They were instrumental in being getting approved, and I'm forever thankful for that. I'm also thankful that prior, my only other option was going to a law firm and have this done. If I would have done that, I would have had to pay thousands of dollars up front, and then I would have probably had to pay a stipend of that every paycheck indefinitely to pay for those services where they did it for free. So again, I'm very thankful. I would also remind you that these, depending on what our disability rating in, they're anywhere from the hundreds to thousands of dollars. That's money that comes back into the community. I appreciate the fact that we're being responsible about our taxes, but I think a lot of people would back me on this. To save a few dollars, it seems like we're tripping over dimes to get the pennies. So I'm very thankful. Thank you, Kelly. If you can stand up. Appreciate it. Ramon. Ramon. Thank you. I'm going back here. Thank you very much for your time.
Joe Riker, Brighton Township, followed by Michael Cassidy.
Thank you, Commissioners. And I do want to, before I start, I wanted to make a quick note to Sharon. I believe everything that she's saying. I'm not taking away anything from Wes. I don't think he hates veterans, as I know some people might think. I just think that he has a power hungry issue, and I think that's what I'm here to address. It's not him hating veterans. I don't disagree. So, and here's where I'll get to it. I've served roughly 8 years on this Veteran Services Committee, including 7 years as the chair, recently stepping down to the vice chair role to make way for new leadership. I want to thank the Chairman Fiani and Commissioner Sample for the productive discussion that last Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday, regarding the resolution. I am here because local government's most basic duty is to follow the rules. Specifically, I'm addressing the handling of the Veteran Services millage by Commissioner Nakagiri as chair of the committee. The violation of standing rules and agenda power. The 2026 board rules are the governing law of this body. Rule 4.g is crystal clear. Recommendations from committees shall be forwarded to the Board of Commissioners. It does not say if the chair likes them or after the chair rewrites them. By blocking the Veteran Services Committee's resolution and submitting his own version, Commissioner Nakagiri violated section 4.g. When I raised this previously, he insisted he was within his rights. He is not. Under section 2.b, the chair's powers is administrative, not a pocket veto, and his decisions are subject to appeal to the board. Transparency isn't just about posting an agenda. It's allowing the public to see the actual options passed by the statutory body, not just those pre-filled by one person. Statutory authority of the OMA and OMA. The Veteran Services Committee is a unique entity established under Michigan Act 192 of 1953. We are the administrative head of Veterans Affairs empowered by state law. To suggest our resolutions can be ignored because we are appointed is a misunderstanding of the law and is an insult to our veterans. This is exactly what Wes Nakagiri said, that we were appointed. We don't follow the same rules as the elected committees. That's incorrect according to state law. Unprofessional conduct of commissioner and employer. I must also address the unprofessional conduct regarding a March 8th email from Commissioner Drick to the Veterans Director. In response to a legitimate concerns, Commissioner Drick wrote, and I quote, Ramon, your seek question. In 2025, did your board vote to instruct you to go around the authority of the Chair West to get this on the agenda? What date was that vote? Your board and your unelected, so the law and tax-paying voters expect BOC oversight control at times of restraint, not statute or case law mandates. The Board of Commissioners take your recommendations. The FAM chair as an is elected properly and legally, regulates and controls the agenda. Your theory of his agenda authority is damaging the integrity of the government process, is without merit, without statute, and without case law. His power is the governing process. What lawyer gave you the theory you propose? J.R. Drick, a 50-year Michigan lawyer. This email came from a 50-year lawyer. The rules in the process, or the governing process, fundamentally is incorrect. The rules are the process of law. No single commissioner is the authority over a state mandating committee. Thank you.
Michael Cassidy from Pinckney, followed by Taryn Fry.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for your time again. My name is Mike Cassidy. I'm a Marine Corps vet. I was involved with the Camp Lejeune water situation back in 80.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we cannot hear you. I don't know if the mic is shut off or not, but can you please check it? Thank you.
Wait, you're good. You're good.
Green light. It's a green light, so you should be on.
A little closer to
How about get a little closer?
That's better. Thank you.
So just if you don't mind testing it first with the, yep. Can you hear us online?
Do you have them speak into it real quick?
Mike.
Yep, you're
check.
good.
1, 2.
Okay. We're gonna
Good,
start your
thank
time over. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
My name is Mike Cassidy. I'm a Marine Corps vet. I was dealt with the contaminated water at Camp Lejeune, and I wish I would have got a hold of Livingston County Veteran Services a long, long time ago. I just moved out to Livingston County about 8 years ago from Wayne County. And tell you what, Wayne County, they don't have the support of the veterans like we have out this way. It's just amazing. We've done numerous parades. I'm involved with the American Legion Post 419. We do the honor guards for military funerals and stuff like that. I was part of the inaugural, or when they first opened up the Livingston County Veteran Services. We did the color guard for the ceremony there. So I've known Ramon back then for a while. Melissa helped me out greatly. Like I said, I wish I would have done this 40 years ago, because when I got out, I didn't know anything about the veteran services and stuff like that. These guys have just helped us out immensely, and they should be appreciated, each and every one of them. Thank you.
Taryn Fry from Howell, followed by Dan from Fenton.
Hello. I want to remind Roger
in his prayer, he forgot the Marines out there, so I want to make sure you don't forget us next time, please. Thank you. So this whole issue here is mind-boggling to me. I know Wes has ran on not raising taxes. However, we forget one thing. This board would not be raising the taxes. It goes on the millage and then it goes on the ballot. The people would raise to be able to take care of our veterans. So it's not on your back, it's on the people of Livingston County that vote onto it. Should have went to the ballot as is and not changed behind the back of the veterans. That was very shameful. And as you can see, a lot of these veterans are here. I did call off a bunch of people from showing up tonight and I asked them to leave their pitchforks and torches at home. They're not happy. Veterans are not happy. This should not have happened. Let's flip the script. Instead of lowering this, why wouldn't we raise it to take care of the veterans? I know people have met with Ramon to figure this out, but nobody came to say, how can we do better? What can we do more? How can we provide for our veterans in this community to grow? We are growing in this community and there's more veterans and they are getting more help from our Veterans Council and the Veterans Service Office. I take several veterans in there and they meet and they are getting their benefits finally taken care of. I don't care what their age is. I had a veteran, 69 years old, finally got his benefits. This is happening every day. We are doing so much for veterans here, but there's still more that can be done. I wish that we had the unlimited budget to take care of veterans and to making sure that they're taken care of. I have a veteran that need a porch put on. There's veterans out there that need different things to be able to get in and out of their housing. There's veterans that are facing shut-offs with their electric. At the post, I've helped take care of those issues. But there's so much more that we could be doing here in our community. And instead of addressing this, Wes decided to do this by himself. That was very unprofessional and it should not have happened. It should have came from the director and the Veterans Council. The whole committee should have been taking care of this and worked out a budget. Instead, the whole Headley, which I understand how that works, but we're cutting back money. $15,000 is what we're talking about. $15,000 on the backs of veterans. Instead of increasing it, we were going to take that away from our veterans. The fuel prices are going up, the economy is going up, electric bills are going up, the money is already spent and is gone. I'm not gonna thank you for your time today. I'm different. I'm gonna thank the veterans behind me that have fought wars and the grandparents and veterans of people behind me that stood up to this and fought for our freedom of speech. Have a good night.
Dan Boratinsky from Fenton, followed by Steve Williams.
Good evening. I would like to start out by doing the same thing, thanking the veterans for all your service. I am not a vet. I'll make that clear. I am not a vet. I'm here to support the vets. Something we all should do. I would like to commend Commissioners Nick Fiani and Frank Sample for their efforts to do the right thing and reach out to the Veterans Director and Committee to negotiate a fair agreement, unlike what was done the first time by Wes Nakagiri. Mr. Nakagiri's actions in the days leading up to and during the March 9th FAM meeting were unacceptable, unethical, and should not be how our elected officials treat veterans. Tonight's roll call vote on the renewal of the Veterans Millage will show the voters who has the veterans' backs and who doesn't. Thank you.
Steve Williams, Marion Township, followed by Brian Joncure.
I keep telling you guys, Google is your friend. All you have to do is look it up. The average millage, the average cost per household per year for this veterans millage is $12.62. Now, you already heard me give my opinion like these guys did on the 9th because I was here to witness the whole mess. The verbal attack by Commissioner Nakagiri is an example. This is where these worlds cross. This is an example of what goes on in Judge Susan Longsworth's court every freaking day, every time I've been there at least. And I do want to make sure I give a shout out to Commissioners Fiani and Panovich for actually showing up to witness the court proceedings one time and 2 times. And I do appreciate that. I appreciate your time. Although I still remember when Commissioner Hausman told everyone that he was going to make this a full-time job when he was running for office. And so I want to see him there sometime as well. Thank you. You all saw, however, you haven't been in the courtroom except 2 of you. The rest of you heard Commissioner Nakagiri's attack on one of your directors. Where are the apologies? Somebody's already brought that up. It was unprofessional, it was rude, and it was unproductive. Again, the same thing I hear in Judge Longsworth's court. You guys don't want to apologize for her. You don't want to apologize to the citizens and the taxpayers that she has harmed and the children that she continues to harm. But you're all here and you're all peers. Every vote counts the same. You should be asking for an apology. Now, something else was demonstrated, you know, an insecurity. When there's an insecurity, people get upset and they lash out. They use their power to lash out at other people who can't lash back. That's going on in the courts. That's what I witnessed on March 9th. The same as that gentleman spoke earlier. The Hadley Amendment is applied automatically. You don't have to calculate it out. You don't have to apply it. You put things before the voters, and then the Hadley Amendment does its work automatically. Commissioners are elected to make decisions based on facts and law. You're not supposed to prejudge things, and neither are judges. You're supposed to look at the facts. You can have opinions, and you all have different experiences, so you're going to base it on your own experiences. You are not supposed to attack someone who disagrees with you. That's not how it works. I was on this board longer than any of you except Commissioner Domas. I know what it's like to have somebody disagree with you. You cannot attack them. That is totally unprofessional. And speaking of transparency, which I did give Commissioner Nakagiri a shout out last time for his advocacy of transparency, you have it within your power to put all committee meetings online the way the board meetings are. So when people go back to look and see what actually happened at that FAM committee meeting, they would be able to see it instead of having it secondhand from me. That's exactly what I've asked you to push for in the courts. Thank you.
Brian Johnkier, Howell City, followed by Hannah Suds.
I'd like to address something with this board, something I call the politics of outrage. This is just one microcosm of something that we see in the county. And that's this tactic of pulling something out of a resolution and using it as a means of outrage. And that was, of course, very evident in this last resolution, talking about switching this away from the August elections and micromanaging and changing the veterans resolution prior to even being discussed in committee. And it is extraordinarily disappointing that that goes on. What's also disappointing is that some of you chose to grab onto that outrage and use it and support that resolution when you knew how our veterans director had been treated. Right there should have said, I'm not going along with this. So I ask you to evaluate these resolutions, not based on the outrage somebody's generating, but on the value of the resolution itself. I've been on the receiving end last minute in a meeting a couple months ago. There was outrage generated by telling you that our Marion Genoa Drain project was being done solely for the developer and the assessment was being given to everybody else. Totally not true. Also withholding resolutions for months. We've had some that have been waiting, and despite those constituents calling that commissioner, they have received no return phone calls. So whether it's by just letting it die somewhere or attacking it at the last minute with claims that are untrue or misleading is, to me, all part of the politics of outrage that we should be rejecting as a board. I want to ask this board to keep that in mind as we going forward, not just in this meeting, but in any meeting, is that any of these things where somebody's trying to generate outrage, is that you dismiss those. There's outrage in everything we do, all of our projects with the Drain Commissioner's Office. We've outrage over the what the state does to us and other factors in construction projects. The problem becomes when we use that outrage as the means for making our decisions. Couple of things. Just to end this, there's two things I wanted to mention to you. One is a piece of advice that veterans are mean. If you have the choice on the Drain Commissioner, I only flood your basement, but there's one guy here that may or may not be related to the clerk that did a lawn job on my front lawn and ran over my campaign sign while I was in the truck. So they are mean. Thank you.
Hannah Suds, Hamburg Township, followed by Mary Durst.
Hello, I'm Hannah Suds from Hamburg Township. Hello, commissioners. I was here in January to share my story, and 3 minutes just isn't long enough to communicate the nightmare Judge Longsworth inflicted on me and my kids. So I hope to share more of our story through other means very soon. There hasn't been much of an update since the last time I spoke. The oldest criminal charge authorized against my ex for stalking dates to May of last year, and we have yet to see a trial for that or for any of the 4 criminal charges or for the neglect abuse case. All we see is delay after delay. So our lives remain on hold, which is a very nice way of saying we continue to bear immense stress and exhaust our limited resources while waiting for progress. On hold does not mean stable. It does not mean safe. It means enduring with no progress. After the last time I spoke, I was asked what might be done to help us. And that's a difficult question because judges have absolute immunity. So she can act maliciously and illegally, but she can't be sued. She also can't be fired. All one can do is file a complaint and hope someone listens, but that takes a lot of time. In the meantime, others are still stuck in her courtroom. I know what that feels like, and I know that escape doesn't mean what people think it does. I'm 8 months out of her courtroom and still working to contain the damage, 8 months and still cleaning up her mess, unable to move on. The legacy of her damage long outlasts her courtroom. So here's my proposed solution. I will tell the details of my story. I have transcripts, orders, motions, and timelines. I can show you how she dropped my PPO after my ex was in jail for violating it, when there were additional violations scheduled to be heard, and forthcoming stalking charges. I can show you how this paved the path for the return of his guns and the criminal charges that resulted from that. I can show you how she put me in jail illegally for the most minor of complaints after denying me an evidentiary hearing. I can show you what she knew of criminal investigations into child abuse when she granted unsupervised parenting time without a proper hearing and against friend of the court recommendations. I can show you the emergency motion informing her my child was injured while I was in jail. I can show you that she denied this motion, denying my child help. I can show you all of this. I ask that after I show you, you demand answers and protection for our community. If you find what I share alarming, I ask that you demand her resignation. Thank you, and to all of our veterans, thank you for your service.
Mary Durst, Genoa Township, and that's the last card I have.
Good evening. My name is Mary, and I was the former Livingston County Veteran Services Director prior. I wrote a little something here. Many of you I know, some of you I don't, and hopefully what I read doesn't apply to all of you, but in the past it has. So Livingston County Board of Commissioners has long used Livingston County Veteran Services as a political pawn to try and improve their political optics under the guise of, quote, being good stewards of taxpayers' money and to enhance personal egos, always claiming credit for Livingston County Veteran Services accomplishments while often actively hindering the work being done by the department. Today is just one example of many. Let's take a look at the facts and figures about what is occurring right now. Under the LCVS request of 0.1127, my $600,000 house with a taxable value of $207,488 would cost me roughly $23.38 for the county millage. Under the 0.1117 being requested by Commissioner Nakagiri, my tax bill for LCVS would be $23.18. The difference between the two is a whopping 21 cents. However, Google states that the average home in Livingston County is only $387,000 roughly, with a taxable value considerably less. So roughly estimated off of the information I have, the amount Commissioner Nakagiri will save an average household per tax period is a whopping 14 cents. This entire circus is over an average of 14 cents of, quote, savings. However, after time, money, and resources spent on revisiting this issue time and time again, there are no real savings. So don't tell me this is about being good stewards of taxpayer money, because the numbers prove otherwise. If you want to prove to the taxpayers that you are, quote, conservative, fiscally responsible Republicans, you so desperately want to be viewed as, quit the political games and let the experts you hire do their jobs without hindering their work. Stop with the attitude of, I know better than the experts, and trust the director of Livingston County Veteran Services, the experts that have been hired to do the research, the finance personnel who ran the numbers, the lawyer who made sure everything fell within the law, and LCVS committee who reviewed and approved the resolution. I know that LCVS is successful not because of the Board of Commissioners, but in spite of it. And your micromanagement only continues to hurt the department. I worked myself into the ground to get veteran services up and running. LCVS was my baby, my passion project, and only given up long after I burnt out and realized help was never coming. I will not stand by quietly now and watch you pick it apart like a pack of vultures. Veterans are not pawns. LCVS is not a tool to be used to better your political career. Do the right thing. Check your egos and politics at the door. Thank you.
Do we have anyone on Zoom who wishes to participate in the call of the public?
Yes, Commissioner, I have Judy Dobenmeyer.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Judy Dobenmeyer from Genoa Township. I can't add much to what the previous speakers has said about the veterans millage. I know that this has been a continuous problem going back at least a decade when veterans threatened to camp out on the courthouse lawn in order to get the first millage before the voters approved it. So this has been going on a long time and it really needs to stop. But other speakers were much more eloquent than I. I did want to speak on another item, and that is the fees for vital records. It is really the worst possible time to consider increasing these fees because at this very moment, the U.S. Senate is considering a voter suppression bill that will require many voters to secure copies of these vital records. This so-called SAVE Act will require people to find birth certificates, marriage licenses, and so on if they're registering to vote for the first time or if they have moved. And they may not find out that these records are needed until days before the election when they go to register to vote. So that's why I find the $100 fee for expedited records to be egregious. I think that that would disenfranchise many people, make it impossible for them to get their records. And I think that within 30 days before the election, the expedited fee should be waived, and these records should be provided free of charge. I know you think that the SAVE Act is going to save the midterms for your party and that it's going to disenfranchise primarily Democrats, but the Washington Post has found that it's actually rural voters who are very unlikely to have documents such as passports and who are going to need to access these records for the first time. And these are voters who overwhelmingly supported President Trump. The AARP says that older Americans are also likely to be hurt by the SAVE Act. And there are many older voters in Livingston County that have supported your party and are going to find out after they've moved to assisted living or to a nursing home that all of a sudden they can't vote. And I think you need to reconsider these fees and do something to prevent your voters from being disenfranchised. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to participate in the call of the public?
I don't see any, Commissioner.
Nope, not anymore.
Is iPad, does iPad 2 have their hand raised? Is that my understanding?
I don't see any hand raised at all.
Okay. Is that the cursor then on? Okay. So it's my understanding, oh yes, it's the cursor, so. At this time, the call of the public is closed. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Meeting minutes dated February 23rd, 2026. Meeting minutes dated March 9th, 2026. And closed session minutes dated February 23rd, 2026.
A motion to approve the minutes Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Nakagiri, moved by Commissioner Deaton and supported by Commissioner Nakagiri. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes are approved. We do not have any tabled items this evening. Next item is reports. Are there any reports? Commissioner Nakagiri.
Yes, thank you very much. I have a PowerPoint presentation that will take about 10 minutes on the Veteran Services millage. If Dustin will cue that up, and I'll move on to the first slide or second slide. So here's a preview of what I'll be talking about. The November election increases voter turnout and it increases margin of victory. November supported by statewide by Republican state reps, supported also by all three Livingston Republican state reps. The 0.1117 mill rate that I proposed, there are no program cuts, provides ample reserve funds. Funding goes up faster than the rate of inflation. And probably the most important part, at least in my opinion, by putting it at 0.1117, the millage becomes a renewal, not a new tax increase. As you'll see, I have data saying it increases the likelihood of passage. And then I'll also address some of the media rhetoric. Next slide, please. Regarding the election date, the State House earlier this month passed two bills mandating November elections. Republicans provided all 56 yes votes for each bill. Here's the three Livingston County state representatives who voted yes, and you can see two of them are veterans. Next slide, please. Regarding the discussion about August versus November, we have some data here. There was a renewal that was in November of 22, and then there was the initial one in August of 26. So you can see the turnout in a August election is significantly less than the November election, and I think it is. I'm of the opinion that we need to maximize turnout. My Democrat colleagues talk about voter suppression. And I think if we deliberately choose a date that we know the turnout is low, significantly lower, that is and not a morally correct thing to do. Even if it's a millage that for an organization that I support, I'm confident it's going to pass. Next slide, please.
There was some data from Bridge, Michigan. The source is at the bottom of the slide. They compared, this isn't veterans millages, it was school bond millages approval rates. They took a look at May, August, and November. So the May approval rates are in yellow. Excuse me, the May and August are in yellow. The November's in green. You can see that the approval rate in May and August was ranged between 49 and 58%, and in November was actually a little bit higher. So I think there's a myth out there that, you know, we're automatically going to lose if we go in August, or excuse me, if we go in November. Next slide, please. Want to talk about renewal versus increased millage. Next slide, please. So this data here is from Gongware News Services in Lansing. They cover virtually everything, political, elections, et cetera. So renewal millages are far more likely to pass than a new millage. In the statistics here are in a renewal, the passage rate is 89%, for a new one is 66%. For the veterans service millage to qualify as a renewal, the mill rate must be less than or equal to 0.1117, the amount that I have proposed. So if we want to go to 0.1127, which, as people said, it's peanuts, the difference, we are putting ourselves in a position where we are increasing the likelihood of failure by 1/3. And to me, I don't think that's acceptable. Next slide, please. The maximum revenue generated, because Livingston County, on the millage that's approved, the last couple of years, we've only assessed 0.0918 because that's the money that was needed to provide the services that the Livingston County Veteran Service Department has provided. And I'm told, and I fully agree, that the level of service provided here in Livingston County by Director Baca and crew are recognized around the state for being among the best, if not the best. Anyway, the rate of increase on the revenue side over that span of time since the last millage was approved, 27% increase, and the rate of inflation since 2022 is 12%. We are more than twice, revenue increasing more than twice the rate of inflation. Next slide, please. I want to address some things that have been stated in the media, and it's setting the record straight. Next slide, please. I have been accused of doing unprecedented things, and, you know, as my tenure as the Finance Committee Chair, that I wouldn't put the veterans millage on the agenda. Well, I took the time to go through 4 years of Veterans Committee meeting minutes and saw that back in 2022, then Commissioner Zajac, who was the chair of the FAM, Finance and Asset Management, had removed the proposed millage off the FAM agenda. So I welcome the debate on public policy. I welcome different points of view, but I always think it's best if we stick to the facts. We'll have a better debate. Next slide, please. So I excerpted some things out of the initial proposal by the Veterans Committee. I highlighted a couple of things that were written in the resolution. The first item highlighted is back in 2022, we were asking for 0.1127, which was less than was originally approved at 0.139 back in 2016. So that was a decrease, but according to the resolution, but will still meet the needs, or still meet department and veterans needs. The other is the initial proposal shows August of 22 as the proposed date. Next slide, please. So here was after it was edited to meet Board of Commissioner requirements. it was changed to November 8th. That is one of the reasons why I'm so surprised we're having this debate again. The committee knew what happened back in '22. They knew the preference of the Board of Commissioners, at least the Board of Commissioners at that time. There was never any discussion with myself as the FAM committee chair saying, hey, we want to go on August. I wouldn't have agreed, but there was no discussion ahead of time before the resolution was presented to me for consideration. Next slide, please. What really aggravates me the most is the misinformation that was out there saying that I and the commission were cutting the veterans funding. Absolutely false. So here's the quotes from WHMI. The board voted to reduce funding tied to the dedicated veterans millage, cutting funding that voters specifically approved for veterans services. And the most egregious one, in my opinion, balancing budgets on the back of our nation's hero is a travesty. The facts. The mill rate that I propose is the same as the current mill rate, 0.1117. There is no reduction in funding. Next slide, please. Raising your property taxes. I'm quoting from an email from 3/5 of 26. After legal counsel review, it was clarified that the proposed ballot language, and that refers to the ones that were drafted by the Veterans Committee and the director, constitutes a new millage, which must be presented as an increase rather than a renewal. That's a direct quote from that 3/5 email. Thus, while Veterans Services was publicly portraying the proposal as not being a tax increase, privately they knew otherwise. I'm appalled to find that out. Next slide, please. And yes, I've campaigned on this. I've said it before I got elected. I pledged to oppose and vote against any efforts to increase taxes. I made this promise to over 20,000 citizens in my district, and I'm going to keep it. And by the way, all 7 Michigan Republican members of Congress have signed this pledge, including 3 veterans. Next slide, please. There's been lots of discussion on the reserve fund balance because when we were talking about, well, what are we going to use this quote unquote extra money for? It was going to the reserve fund balance. And so I want to talk about that for a little bit. PFM Associates in a report had said, what is the correct or amount of days worth of expenses that should be kept on hand just for a rainy day, unexpected things popping up. So at a minimum, it was 45 days, which is, in my view, way too low, way too low. The target that they had recommended was 120 days. This isn't me, this is PFM. What Livingston County Veterans Services has as reserve fund currently is 219 days. Ample reserve funds, in my humble opinion. And I want to point out that this issue of reserve fund balances has been an ongoing issue, and it started before Mr. Baca took over. But prior to his taking over at the helm, there were reserve fund balances as high as 1,131 days. That's 3 years worth of expenses in the bank just in case something happens. In my opinion, that's not reserves, that's a slush fund. Next slide, please. In my research into this whole issue, I observed this from the state of Michigan, that Livingston County veteran population from the last 10 years has declined 19.5%. That doesn't mean that that could change in the future, but that's what the state of Michigan had published as of from 2015 to 2025. Next slide, please. I took a look going through Veterans Committee agendas. There's been a decline in appointments. There are appointments made with counselors for helping veterans get their benefits. which I think is a great thing. And it's a service that we ought to be providing, and it's a service that we ought to do well, and it's a service that we do well. But since the last millage was authorized and approved by voters, we went from an average of 275 appointments per month to now we're at 151 appointments per month. Next slide, please. And I recognize that the Veteran Services Committee and the director recognize the issue, that there is an issue based on this resolution from one of their agenda packages, where they were authorizing money to be spent with WHMI to do some advertising, marketing, to let veterans who may not know that we are here, that the Veterans Department is there, to reach out to them and make sure they know that there's resources. So it's not a problem that there is no awareness of. Why I bring this up is that even if we had stable funding, didn't have any increases whatsoever, on a per veteran appointment, the veterans that come in for need, we used to be able to handle almost twice as many as we do now. That provides us, in my mind, with some additional cushion that is not, to this date, been recognized. Next slide, please. I want to leave this closing thought. Next slide, please. This is what aggravates me the most, and maybe it doesn't aggravate anybody else. Real cuts were minimized. Real cuts to veterans were minimized. False cuts are amplified. So I'm going to read word for word here. Livingston County, falsely characterized as enacting a budget cut, has been accused of balancing budgets on the backs of our nation's heroes. That's for a false accusation. However, when real budget reductions of $69,000 were imposed by the state over the last 2 years, the director minimized these cuts by describing them as money that simply fades away. That's a quote from WHMI. Where was his outrage when this true cut, the $69,000, was happening over the last 2 years? Where was his divisive media campaign? Was this not balancing budgets on the backs of our nation's heroes? I'll leave that as a closing thought and say this. Yes, there's a divisive atmosphere here. I don't want it. I don't like it. I recognize from comments that have been made tonight, I could have done things better. I should have been more, well, I thought I was being collaborative. I should have been more collaborative. And I will publicly apologize for. But I think when, and I use that as an opportunity to better myself in the future. I look at this, everything that I run across, whether it's in public life or private, as a learning opportunity. So I've learned something from here. But I would hope that in future policy disagreements, because there were no programs cut, we were really debating about what should be the appropriate amount of reserve funds. But it got characterized as, I and others on the commission were balancing our budgets on the backs of veterans. Absolutely false. And that type of rhetoric does not help to build a strong relationship and move on to the future. I will say this too, in the spirit of Lent, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ says, I need to forgive. I'm looking past this issue. I hope to be able to work with the director better. I hope to be able to show to everyone here that has questions about my sincerity, my beliefs, my policy positions, that we have an opportunity to talk in the future. I'm open to speaking with anybody, even people that don't agree with me, even people that don't necessarily like me for my stands. I do that because I signed up for this job knowing that I'm representing the public, and I have to represent everybody, regardless if we see eye to eye on everything. I appreciate the opportunity to present this report, and I will yield the floor for further debate. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Gross.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make a statement that I hope will be a clarification for those amongst the audience who have been misinformed. In the press and even in this meeting tonight, there's been talk of tax increase or cutting of the Veteran Services budget. Both of those are entirely false. If we approve the resolution that we've got before us later, it will set the millage rate at 0.1117. But we are only levying 0.0918, 2 full points less. So when we do this, there's going to be no effect whatsoever on your tax bills. The taxes that, unless the rate goes up because of growth in the county. But as far as the millage rate that's being levied, there is no change to that. It will supply the amount of money that the Veteran Services have been utilizing for the last 2 years and will continue until they come forward with some big new program, which is entirely possible. But we've got the latitude to levy 2 points higher, and that would represent a tax increase, but not now. Taxes are basically frozen right now. Just want to make that point. Thank you.
Any additional reports this evening? Moving forward, we have resolutions for consideration. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution approving the emergency medical services reorganization?
So moved, Drick. Support Deaton.
Moved by Commissioner Drick, supported by Commissioner Deaton. Any discussion? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Drick,
Yes.
Commissioner Deaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Panovich,
Yes.
Commissioner Fiani,
Yes.
Commissioner Gross,
Yes.
Commissioner Helserman.
Yes.
Commissioner Domas.
Yes.
Commissioner Sample.
Yes.
Commissioner Nakagiri.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution affirming the Livingston County Emergency Management Program Manager to submit names for appointment to the Livingston County Local Emergency Planning Committee?
So moved.
Support Gross.
Moved by Commissioner Deaton and supported by Commissioner Gross. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Resolution is adopted 9-0. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution approving appointment to the Livingston County Tax Allocation Board?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Domas, seconded by Commissioner Sample. Any discussion? It's my understanding that the resolution as is will yield the appointment to Lisa R. Is everybody in agreement with that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution approving appointment to the Livingston County Planning Commission?
So move Sample. Support Nakagiri.
Moved by Commissioner Sample, supported by Commissioner Nakagiri. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution approving appointments to the Parks and Open Space Advisory Committee?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gross, seconded by Commissioner Helserman. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is approved 9-0. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution to authorize the Livingston County Planning Department to apply for recreation passport grant funds from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources for the construction of a second parking lot at Fillmore County Park?
So moved.
So moved, Helserman.
Wait.
He's support.
Moved by Commissioner Helserman, supported by Commissioner Domas. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution revising vital records, expedited and marriage waiver fees?
So move Sample. Second Drick.
Moved by Commissioner Sample and seconded by Commissioner Drick. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the reallocation of ARPA funds to the ARPA fiber project?
So move Sample.
Support Deaton.
Moved by Commissioner Sample, supported by Commissioner Deaton. Any discussion? May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Sample,
Yes.
Commissioner Nakagiri,
Yes.
Commissioner Drick,
Yes.
Commissioner Deaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Panovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Fiani,
Yes.
Commissioner Gross,
Yes.
Commissioner Helserman,
Yes.
Commissioner Domas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
there was a question I wanted to ask on, the resolution from the clerk.
Yeah.
Talking about, expedited fees.
Yeah.
that Were brought up. Would you allow me to ask those questions? For the public record?
If the clerk doesn't mind, I'll,
Well,
allow
I
this-
actually appreciate the opportunity. I want to clarify, Commissioner, that the expedited fees relate only to the issuance of a marriage license. Our county clerk policy is when you appear in person, you're going to walk out with your request for your vital record. And we try to fill online orders within 24 business hours. The expedited fee is based on the actual cost of having a couple who wants to leave then and there with their marriage license, waiving the 3-day fee and being issued prior to the expiration of Michigan's 3-day waiting period. Those are based on actual cost. It does not apply to the fulfillment of a request for a certified birth record or marriage record or death record.
So in your understanding, it has no effect on election?
Correct. That has absolutely no impact on election-related matters.
Thank you.
with
I
the
just wanted to
expedited
clarify that
fee.
matter. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
Yes.
Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding that item? Is there a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing millage election for the renewal of the County Veterans Services Program millage proposal and certifying ballot language?
So move Sample.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Sample, second by Commissioner Domas. Before we enter into discussion, I just want to reiterate that the resolution we have before us for this item is the resolution that was unanimously approved by the Veterans Services Committee and authored by Director Ramon Baca. Any discussion among the commissioners? Commissioner Nakagiri.
Yeah, I have a comment and then I'm going to motion an amendment. You know, I appreciate that it is now at 0.1117. It does allow us to call the millage a renewal. It does enhance the likelihood that'll pass. And that's a good thing. But I would like people to consider this. The rhetoric that was used regarding the initial proposal of 0.1117 now is unanimously agreed to by all parties. So if in fact we were balancing the budget on the backs of our nation's heroes, then our entire Veterans Committee and the department is also now supportive of that balancing the budget. It just point out the.
You might want to call Representative Wolford. He said you fucking lied. You're a piece of shit. You
Here,
got
here.
reported your shit. Cut off, man. Don't make off. No, seriously. Don't fucking lie again. He didn't say anything. He didn't support your stuff. Aaron. Hey, Aaron.
The other thing, I move to amend the resolution to have the date in November on the first, on the Tuesday after the first Monday. I don't recall the date.
I will support that. Mr. Chair, I would like to have, ask Ramon the director, some questions.
Yes, so,
If that's, because generally we have the person that's presenting.
so first, I'll invite Director Baca up if he wishes. And any, representatives from the Veteran Services Committee if they wish. Secondly, we have a motion on the table from Commissioner Nakagiri for amendment. Is there a second to that motion?
I seconded.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Commissioner Nakagiri made a motion to amend the resolution from the August 4th primary election to the November election. It was seconded by Commissioner Helserman. Were there any specific questions among the commissioners at this time? Commissioner Gross.
Perhaps not a question, but I would like during the course of this conversation and discussion to ask the county clerk to voice her opinion with respect to August versus November.
So right now, we'll focus on the motion to amend. And with that being one of your questions, Commissioner Gross, I welcome Madam Clerk, if you wish to weigh in on the change of date at this time, you're welcome to.
I want to let you know the election date in November will be November 3rd, 2026. So that's how I wrote your motion to amend.
Thank you.
Okay. As far as my opinion as the county clerk of whether a ballot proposal should be on August or November, I believe strongly in deferring to the judgment of the director of the department or the entity bringing the ballot proposal. They are the expert matters when it comes to what they want to put and when they want to put it on the ballot. Do I believe turnout statistically is higher in November? Yes, but they're statistically higher in November of presidential primary years. So should we only put ballot proposals on November of presidential years? I've gone back and looked statistically the rate of passage between November and August ballot proposals. The passage rate, while the voter turnout is lower in August, the rate of passage is almost identical. Very close between August and November. I, as an election official, believe every voter has the opportunity and the right to turn out to vote in August just as they do in November. Electors have the choice of casting a paper ballot, or they have the option of living with the majority vote of those who do decide to cast that paper ballot. That is my opinion as an election official. So if we don't have forced voting in this country. We don't force people to pay a tax if you don't go out and vote. If you want to cast your paper ballot, you have that right. You can vote in person on election day. You can vote early for many elections, definitely our federal elections. And then you can vote with no reason absentee voting for 45 days prior to an election today. You can register up to and on election day. And these are ballot proposals passed by even the residents in Livingston County. So someone has full and fair opportunity to cast a paper ballot. And if they choose not to cast that, they are in essence deciding to live with the will of the majority of those who do go cast a ballot. So I would defer to the expert of the department who wants to bring forward, and they have a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners on what ballot to include the language, but then it's ultimately the decision of the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you.
Respectfully, your county clerk.
Thank you.
I have a question for her. So who is actually bringing forth this request? Okay, who officially, we understand that the veterans are bringing forth this request, but is it theirs or is it ours to, who actually brings it forth to the people?
That would be a legal question that I would defer to council. I don't get paid that much.
It's yours once a majority of you pass it. So right now, these are things presented for your consideration. You are the body, the legislative body that is tasked with passing it. So once a majority of elected and serving say yes, it is you bringing it forward.
Right. But okay. But we are the ones that put it on the ballot.
No. You're voting on whether it goes on the ballot.
Any other questions or comments among the commissioners
In general, or just,
pertaining to the motion to amend?
yeah, I got a couple comments.
Okay. Commissioner
So,
Eaton.
I'll be voting no for the amendment. And what I had done, I was excluded from the negotiations, and I'm a veteran. What I did afterwards is I reached out to Director Botka and discussed the resolution that was coming forward. And he mentioned to me he agreed with what was coming forward. So I am satisfied what is coming before us from Director Botka.
Okay. I have another question for Mr. Baca.
So I need to listen if any other
Okay.
commissioners, Commissioner Heltzman.
Okay, would you give your, on behalf of the committee, the reasoning for choosing August as opposed to November?
Why not? It's free, August, November.
Okay.
Number one, I'll continue with some commentary. If anything, who's disenfranchising voters by telling them they must go vote on certain topics at certain times? It's their right to go vote in August if they choose to, as Ms. Hunley already alluded to. I cannot say it any better than that. So as we advertise if something's coming out, or any other entity advertises that something's going to be put on a ballot, it is up to those voters because it's their right. And doggone, I fought for their right to do these things. And so with all that said, is it we advertise, any other entity advertises what's on the ballot, and they go and vote, or they don't. And so with all that said, we can do it in August as this currently stands now. I realize there may be some legislation going up through the state channel or whatever to only do in November. But as it stands right now today, we can do August. And if it didn't pass, I'm not worried that it wouldn't pass. I'm pretty certain it will pass in August. 51% is all we need. And at the end of it, do we want 99%? Of course. But if it passed by 51%, then that's fine. But let's say it didn't pass. Then that gives us an opportunity to take it back to the voters and take a poll and sit down with them and politic with them, as you're well accustomed to doing, some of you, and talk to them about what should we do then? If you didn't pass this particular rate, for what reasons? Are we not providing a first-class service? Can you see something better, bigger and better? Can we develop more opportunities? What should we do and what should that rate be? That gives us a chance to go talk to those folks and see what they want, so that we come back in November. And then if it's different, as the masses say, then we put it on in November.
So,
For clarification.
okay, but do we not also have 28? And if we do it in 27, if we do it in 27, we have to pay for an extra one. But can we not also do it in 28?
So
So if it fails in November, we could come back in August of 28. And so I'm just.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
Commissioner, if I may, you're correct, but I mean, if I worked in that office as an employee and my job was not secure for 2 years, and I don't know if I'm going to have one, and I have to wait until November to find out, and then if it doesn't pass, because we don't know what's going to happen 2 years from now, do we? I mean, I didn't have going to Iran on the cards, and I don't think any of us did, but we are. at that point. We don't know what's going to happen with our economy. So, yeah, you know, to have to wait, an office to have to wait 2 years to see if this office is going to be funded and it's up in the air. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's nice. I mean, I'm assuming that's why commissioners push for a 4-year ballot for them to be elected, because you don't have to worry about it every 2 years. Well, we don't want to have to worry about it for 2 years either. We'd rather have it, you know. So, and I guess the other point to it is, you know, just for clarification, because I want you all to vote with data, just like Commissioner Nakagiri had stated. I mean, I took plenty of notes of inaccuracies. I mean, he did fact checks, but he's not the professional in the office that can actually read the facts. And I just want to make a note of the actual reasoning behind the 2022 going to the November. We chose that. And the reason we chose that was because the previous director, Mary Durst, that quit, and in her resignation letter, and I know it wasn't everybody here, and I know it's not everybody, you can't blanket all commissioners. In her resignation letter, she said, she submitted why she quit is because of mental health issues. And a lot of it was caused by certain commissioners that consistently had their thumb on this office. And I had to talk her off the ledge so many times, so much so she put a resignation when I was not in town and I was struggling. And I actually ran that office as the director for months before we could fill that spot, unpaid, mind you. Luckily that we have an awesome staff in there and that they picked up a lot of the slack, because I definitely couldn't hold a full-time director position with my full-time job as well. So the reason it went to November was because we couldn't get the language out for the August as intended, because we no longer had a director. I don't have that time to commit to it. And my staff was already way behind in that office with claims, which was in the news. So that's the reason behind the November. We didn't prefer that. That was kind of a force by us because our director resigned out of the blue. So just a clarification point on that one. I mean,
Commissioner Panovich.
Simple question, why wait? Let's do it now.
Thank you.
Commissioner Drake.
Mr. Riker, thank you for that clarification. It makes sense not to make people wait 2 years to worry about their job.
Thank you.
I was a bit uncertain if I was going to change my mind. I've changed my mind.
I appreciate that.
And I'll take this opportunity. I like your feedback. It's sometimes a little stinging. Sometimes I kick the dog, but I don't mind your feedback at all. It's okay. All right?
Appreciate that.
Commissioner Domas.
Just perhaps the closing comments on this issue. It's their department, it's their issues, their people, and it's their resolution. So keep your hands off it. Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Commissioner Nakagiri.
Yeah, I wanted to just clarify, this is not that Wes hates veterans. I have long railed against these elections occurring at times other than the general election. It just irks me that when I see these, it's really a problem mostly of school districts. And so if I'm going to hold the school districts, you know, if I'm going to rail against them having these elections in May or August, you know, I'm not a big fan of hypocrisy, and I want a standard. And so it's not, I mean, I'm voting for November because that's my principal belief. And I will also mention that as we are all aware that there were a couple bills passed by the House and for November only elections, each bill passed with 56 votes. And I wanted to mention that all 56 votes were Republicans. And this is a Republican county, heavily Republican county, and I think we ought to follow suit. Not just because we want to be like Lansing, but in my view, it's the right thing to do, to choose an election time that we know is going to have more turnout. And then if I heard the director correctly, there is no real difference in terms of percentages of, you know, likelihood of victory in August or November, if I heard the director correctly.
Why wait? Why wait? So you can
Because we
raise
get
hands
more,
on the
we get
side
more
with the ID.
voters.
That's,
You gotta
again,
just show up to vote. They can show up for all.
Sir, to the voter.
It's up to the
At,
voters.
at this time, we'll close discussion and we'll have a roll call vote on the amendment. If you vote yes, you are voting to amend the resolution to change it to the November 2026 date. If you vote no, you're agreeing to keep the resolution as it was approved by the Veterans Committee and authored by Director Baca.
Commissioner Nakagiri,
Yes.
Commissioner Drick,
No.
Commissioner Deaton,
No.
Commissioner Panovich,
No.
Commissioner Fiani,
No.
Commissioner Gross,
No.
Commissioner Helserman,
Yes.
Commissioner Domas,
No.
Commissioner Sample.
No.
Motion to amend fails.
Thank you. Any additional discussion regarding the resolution? Seeing no additional discussion. Any closing remarks, or may we proceed with the vote?
Got no vote. Other than some of your facts, Mr. Nakagiri, are so way off. I just want to, for the record, your little presentation was a travesty. You can quote me on that.
And with that, since how we're going off of Wes, I just want to, I know I know a lot of times we don't try to be hypocrites and it accidentally happens. I've been called out on it. And when I get called out on it, I own it. We're all not, nobody's perfect. And I just want to make that comment because you said that you fact check, but you're also at the same time, you made a comment previously, and I think you said it today, but you said it previously to me that you should have been involved as the FAM chair, a part of our committee's discussion on ours. I don't think that's true. This is ours. It belongs to us. We move it to you and you have the authority to change that. That's how it's supposed to go, whether we're elected or appointed or not. That's the fair, transparent way of doing it, which is what I think we all want, even if we don't see it the same way. But the reason I say that is because you said that we should have been involved in it, but I'll tell you what, facts that you showed up on that TV, you didn't involve us and I could have squashed probably, you're actually correct on some of it. I will give you that. The news was incorrect on it. And I think it's just how people read something. You get compared to a one-on-one conversation. I think we can have a back and forth and we can actually fix any issues that we have compared to seeing it on the news. And then the public is also not sure of it. You're correct. Money is not being taken away in our budget. We are getting everything we want. The problem though is we're so fiscally responsible with our funds that we're not, we used to max or get close to maxing out, but we don't because there's resources out there. We're doing this job, this director, that staff back there are doing such an amazing job at when we ask them like, is there other programs out there? Why are we keep using this funds? Because it does free up the funds. So if we need it for something that's even more valuable that nobody else is helping with, we have those funds available. Now, we always lower our millage rate to meet what our budget requires that month. But the reason we don't want to ever give up a millage rate that the voters have voted on in the past is because it's always hard to get that back once you lower it. And I know you guys will admit that too. We all know that, especially if you're involved in politics, you know how it works. So where I come to you on this is you should have involved us on your and say, hey, can you make sure this is accurate, this information I got? Because I can tear it apart, and especially our finance manager back there, she tore it apart just during this meeting, saying like, that's not right. I'm like, I thought so too, but I'm not the expert in it. She is when it comes to the numbers. But because the walk-in appointments, you completely missed the walk-in, or you completely missed the walk-ins. You just did appointments. That's not accurate data. There's still more data that you didn't look at. So that was not a true representation of how many veterans we serve. And as far as the $69,883 that was taken by the state, and your response was, where was our outrage? Do you guys, the committee, remember us coming to you outraged and asking you to write a resolution to the state of Michigan saying this is, excuse my language, bullshit? And you guys were receptive to it. So that was that's not an accurate statement. We were outraged, but why would we put it on you guys? It's not you taking the money away from our department. It was the state. We wanted you to fight for us. So that was an inaccurate statement. So that's all I wanted to say. There's a lot of inaccuracies. You might think there is on our side, but we know there is on your side, especially with data that our office is involved in. You're reading it from documents. We're living it day to day. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional? Commissioner Nakagiri?
I just want to clarify one thing, and I I show where I get my data from so people can fact check me. And I don't claim to be infallible. And so I've always believed that as an elected official, people shouldn't have to just take my word for it. I mean, that's just how I'm wired, and that's why I put the sources. And if I'm found to be grossly inaccurate or a little bit inaccurate, I'm willing to take that feedback. I do want to say this on Mr. Riker. This proves that I was listening to you when you were talking about the rules of the commission, item 4G. And so I have 4G in front of me. And it says recommendations by the committee shall be forwarded to the Board of Commissioners. When recommendations by the committee are the votes of the committee. So when we vote on a resolution, that gets forwarded to the whole committee. It's not recommendations presented to try to get on the agenda. They are different. And if we can have a longer discussion outside the meeting, because this is kind of dry information. But it is, the recommendations of the committee are votes of the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
With there being no more, so I do see Representative Wolford is online, and it's my understanding that he may be able to contribute from the state legislative standpoint. Representative Wolford, are you?
Yes.
Thank you. So
Yes, Commissioner, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well. We are discussing the resolution. It's my understanding that you'd like to share some insight from the state legislative standpoint.
Yeah, so I would just like to have clarified because I don't go off hearsay. So I would like to make sure, I was told by multiple people that Wes had mentioned that I was in support of this cut from to the veteran services. Was that said?
I did not say that.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay, wonderful. And then how was my name used with this in a PowerPoint?
That you had voted in favor of November elections.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Yes. As a whole, that is 100% true as a state representative for the state of Michigan, because it gets more people out, and it wasn't specifically for our veterans issues. So thank you for the clarification on that. I appreciate that. But I just wanted to make it clear that I am in support of I should say I'm not in support of any cuts to our veterans at all. So thank you for the clarification on that.
Thank you, Representative Wolford. Commissioner Sample, I believe you want to have the closing remarks.
I don't know about the closing remarks, but I'd just like to say thank you to the people that worked on this and Commissioner Fiani for his stewardship as the chair of this thing. This was a hard thing to navigate. And I think this board and everybody, to walk away and try not to have too much animosity of how we got here so that we can work together in the future to do the right thing. It's a good thing to do the right thing when you found out maybe you did the wrong thing. So I just appreciate everyone's effort and working together to get to this point.
Thank you, Commissioner Sample. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Sample,
Yes.
Commissioner Nakagiri,
Yes.
Commissioner Drick,
Yes.
Commissioner Deaton,
Yes.
Commissioner Panovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Fiani,
Yes.
Commissioner Gross,
Yes.
Commissioner Helserman,
Yes.
and Commissioner Domas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time this evening.
Thank you, commissioners.
Is there a motion to adopt the resolution from the Livingston County Board of Commissioners recognizing and celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States of America?
So moved, Deaton.
Support Domas.
Moved by Commissioner Deaton and supported by Commissioner Domas. Any discussion? Commissioner
I
Helserman?
would just like to say something. The Declaration of Independence said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal." That was a it wasn't a religious statement. It was a statement of logic. back then, everybody in the logical world believed that there was a creator. It was self-evident. That's a statement of logic. And all of the other references to the laws of nature and nature's God and dependence upon divine on providence, all of those came from their logic. The Christian point of view and the accepted logical point of view were parallel ideas that went together with each other. And they were careful to make it a logical argument instead of a religious argument. The people who don't believe in creation want to say that it's a argument between science and religion. Well, the signers of the Declaration of Independence made a logical statement. So in reality, the scientists are fighting with the logical people who today creator is still self-evident. All you got to do is pick up your pen. You say, is this an accident or is this part of a plan? I think nobody would logically say it's an accident. Everybody would say there's some sort of plan behind it. That is why a creator is self-evident. And so I'm completely in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Is there a motion to approve the claims dated March 23rd, 2026 and payables dated February 23rd through March 8th, 2026?
Don't move, Gross.
Support Deaton.
Moved by Commissioner Gross, supported by Commissioner Deaton. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 9-0. At this time, we have the second call of the public this evening. Anyone who wishes to speak is welcome to do so. You will have 2 minutes. If you may, or if you would, please provide a card and we will proceed.
Steve Williams, Marion Township, followed by Bruce Hundley.
Commissioner Nakagiri, I'm very happy to hear you acknowledge that you're not infallible, since in this time of Lent, we should all be reminded that there's only been one infallible man who ever walked the earth, right? I think we can at least agree on that. So we talk about transparency. Disenfranchisement is a term that comes up all the time. So I think having these meetings available to people outside of normal hours is a great idea, right? Because otherwise, who are you disenfranchising? Everybody that works in a retail store that closes at 8 or 9, anybody who works second shift or third shift, they can't see what goes on here unless they actually take time off work. So again, I would encourage you to make public your board, your other committee meetings, and to encourage the judges to reverse course. Remember, this is not a change. This is going back to what they did before by allowing people who participated in the court system to have access to the recordings of their own very, very expensive trials. And oh, by the way, we talked before about how expensive those transcripts are. You know, the one I showed you, $500, right? I didn't realize that the state just raised the fees less than a year ago. So those are going to become more expensive per page for any of your constituents who want to pay for some kind of recording of their own very expensive court hearings. All right, what else? I've said it before, I do not think that Judge Susan Longsworth should be awarded any cases involving veterans or children. I don't think it's safe for either one. I told you that the county courts costing tens of thousands of dollars to families who are in crisis. Remember, when you go to family court, nobody is being charged with a crime. People who are in there are not criminals. And yet it's costing them huge amounts of money. And this judge is putting a gal, guardian ad litem, on top of it. And that is something that you can request reports from for scale, as I have demonstrated by forwarding you copies of earlier reports that we used to receive. Thank you for your time.
Bruce Hundley, Genoa Township, followed by Sharon Lolio.
Hypocrisy, a great word. 1 minute we talk transparency, and the next minute we won't let our county elected official expert talk at a meeting. Why would that be? Is that transparent? Transparency. We have a resolution that's given to the director of FAM, to the commissioner of FAM, yet he doesn't share it with the rest of his commissioners. It doesn't sound real transparent. I think, Mr. Nakagiri, you owe Mr. Baca an apology that you screamed at him during that meeting. We're talking about a 25-year command sergeant major in the United States Army. It was totally unprofessional of you. It was actually childish and rude. You owe him an apology personally and publicly.
Sharon Lolio from Howell Township, followed by Larry Parsons.
I hope we can prepare for this and everybody can begin working together again for the good of our community.
Larry Parson, Heartland, followed by Stephanie Booth.
Good evening, gentlemen. I had no plans of speaking tonight. I'm speaking for Christina Like, who got called away for a family emergency. I don't know if anybody knows, but her brother Scott has had a massive heart attack and he's barely hanging on. So she got called away. And I don't know what my friend Christina was going to say tonight. She left out in a hurry. So I want to say that my friend Christina supports a lot of veterans. She represents them at no cost. She does whatever she can to help veterans, and I think we all should do that. And I'm proud of each and every one of you. I came here from Wayne County, and as a resident here in Livingston County since 2003, I am never less than impressed with the representation that I see from all of you. I agree, none of us are perfect, especially me. But very proud of all of you. And as a veteran, I thank you for what you do because it matters. And sometimes in the heat of, let's say, a political debate or when you're debating over funds, sometimes people say things that they probably shouldn't. And I think that goes on both sides of the aisle. But if you can do anything, please pray for my friend Christina Like and her family right now. They need a lot of prayers. And I wish I could have spoke better. I wasn't sure what she was going to talk about. She just handed me this card and says, go speak for me. So thank you, everybody. And I appreciate all of you.
Stephanie Booth, Howell City. That's the last card I have.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to kind of echo what others have said, that the FAM recordings definitely, or the FAM meetings need to be recorded. I think we need transparency, and that is one way of doing it. I don't know, I guess working in insurance before, many companies are required to have a reserve or else they are uninsurable. So I don't know if this relates to that or not, but it was worth mentioning. I saw, let's see. I saw like some complaints again, which is never a old thing or a new thing. The press is needed to hold you accountable, and if they get it wrong, I don't see how they got it wrong. We're looking at voter suppression. If you're trying to push it to the November ballot, it's one way of doing it and allowing them not to retool their the millage if should it fail. So that's taking their time away. Helseman, we're not in church. Don't come to my door. I've asked you before with your church brochures. I think you're a hypocrite, and I find no sense of spirituality in a person like you. Sorry. I've seen so much crap coming from that I've just about had it. So do not come to my place. I did inform the local police that I don't want you there. I have signs up too, so do not push your religion on me. I have my own. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say. Thank you.
It looks like we have a couple individuals on Zoom who wish to participate.
I do. The first one I have is Cindy McNevich.
Hi, Commissioners. Cindy McNevich, Hamburg Township. I just want to say a couple of the other speakers have said that you should record the committee meetings. I really appreciate that you do have them live, but I think recording them would prove further transparency. So please consider it since they're already video of it. You just have to upload it to YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I have Frank Irvin.
Good evening, Commissioners. Frank Irvin, Deerfield Township. Hope you're all doing well tonight. I just want to say thank you to Roman and the Livingston County Veteran Services staff and all those that other spoke in favor. I wanted to be there tonight, but had a horse emergency. We talked a little bit about Lent and working together, then went on to bashing. I just resigned 2.5 months ago, so you probably all remember my soapboxes about working together, and that's what we need to do. We need to work together with the directors, those that are out there, department heads, countywide electeds, for the benefit of the people we serve. Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like Mr. Tasich also would like to speak if I am seeing him signal us correctly.
That is correct. I was going to grab him as well.
You're always one step ahead of me. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ben Tasich from Genoa Township. I'm 85 years old. I'm a veteran of the Cold War. Watching this evening's proceedings, I'm reminded that democracy is a messy business. And as we debate the kind of support we're going to give our veterans, we need to remind ourselves just a couple things. We're presently fighting 3 wars around the world. The young men and women that are serving in these wars are not debating how much money they will get once they leave the military, but rather they're fighting for us so we can engage in a type of dialogue that we're having this evening. Please be reminded that we're not each other's enemies just because we might belong to a different political party or might have a different view on certain issues. This is time that this country, that this county needs to come together and support one another. Name calling, accusations are really inappropriate and unnecessary. I know the feelings are strong and difficult at times, but what happened to the kindness and civility that this nation talks about? It would really behoove all of us to look at each other as Commissioner Hausman would say, if you see God in yourself, how can you not see God in other people? Stop with the political outrage that was mentioned earlier. Please, it's only hurting people, and we should not be doing that. We should be helping one another. And I want to thank all of the commissioners for their courage in what they do, the abuse that they take, that they don't have to, because we're living in very violent and dysfunctional
15
times.
seconds.
And I guess my last comment is that I'm encouraged watching this evening, even though I'm sadly disappointed in how we treat one another, but I'm encouraged in the final analysis, you guys do make the right decision. Thank you for your work and deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom who wishes to participate in the call of the public?
I do not see any, Commissioner.
Thank you. This time, the second call of the public is closed. Next item is commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments? Commissioner Gross.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As many of you know, I'm involved in the pro-life movement, and I had the honor and privilege to attend the Right to Life of Michigan Legislative Day in Lansing last week. And one of the significant takeaways from that day was that depending on the results of the November election this year, we, the residents of the state of Michigan, could be faced with a government of the state of Michigan telling us that we have to subscribe to physician-assisted suicide. This is a big area of concern in the Right to Life movement. Traditionally, we have been concerned about abortion and right to life from conception until natural death. But now the forces of evil are looking to attack us on unnatural death. So I just bring that to everybody's attention. Several years ago, Canada as a nation approved physician-assisted suicide. And today and every day, 45 Canadians are being killed by physicians as assisted suicide. So this is a dangerous precipice, and I would hope that all of us keep that in mind when we go to vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gross. Any other comments? Commissioner Hausman.
Just wanted to say a few things, Stephanie. First of all, I want to ask, I think it's protocol that the people in the call of the public address the chairman. And it's actually, if I understand it correctly, even we are supposed to address you as opposed to address each other. Except we have permission to do so, and we don't particularly have permission to talk directly to anybody else unless we have permission from the chair. First of all, and because tonight there were, personal accusations given, and they were directed to the person. They should be directed to the chair and indirectly to the person, and never directly to the person, except you're the chair. If it's this is about you, they have to direct it to you. So, and you have shoulders big enough to take it. Let's see. Dealing with Stephanie's accusation, I regularly distribute Christian literature and dropping at people's door. She did request me to stop going to her door. I did not do it, but then from her coming here, I heard that she was living in Howell Township, so I thought she was not living at her house. And I went once there, and I don't go anymore now. But, Jesus never chased anybody. And I don't chase anybody. If they don't want to hear, that's their business. So anyways, and I'm a veteran, and I hope that I have, as a veteran, the ability to speak my mind, even though it's different than the people on the Veterans Committee. They fought for my right to do that. And I think that everybody on this board supports the veterans and supports what they're doing. And like Commissioner Nakagiri said, I think we have the best Veteran Services Committee in the state and maybe in the country. And we're proud of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Helserman. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move, Helserman.
Support Deaton.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned.